Hello and welcome to our virtual exhibition opening of Emily Budd called Late Bloomer. And this is quite a new thing for us. It was an online residency, which was a very new experiment for the D Clinic residency, and also to do a virtual exhibition opening is a very experimental and new thing for us. So let's see if it will work as fine as we planned it to be. I don't want to talk too much beforehand. I want to bring our guest and resident artist as soon as possible. So let me welcome Emily Budd. Hi, Emily.
Hello,
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Uh, it's a bit late at night here in Hungary. I don't know. I guess for you it's daytime at the moment.
Yeah, almost lunch.
Yeah. It was a long online residency because of circumstances with you, with the world, with how it works. But let me just ask you first, how did you feel during this residency? What what uh, what was the experience for you overall?
The experience was great. Also wasn't really sure going into it what a virtual residency would be like. So I learned a lot, but it really helped me to focus on this project that I've been wanting to do for quite a while now. And a lot of things were coming together at the right time when this started for that. So, um, yeah, I guess technically the residency was in October, November. Um, and the world the world has its own ideas about when the show will happen. um, but yeah, I feel like the experience was really positive. It was really great working with you. I really wish I could have gone, but I am happy that we still were able to work with each other in this way.
Yeah,
So,
because an in-person residency would have been like much shorter.
well, yeah.
Okay, so just to break the ice, we have prepared something that works. Have a random question generator.
Oh, fun.
So first, just to get to know you, we will ask some random questions.
Okay.
Okay. So, who was your favorite teacher and why?
My favorite teacher was big surprise, my art teacher
Of course.
um, in high school. She made every day a party, but was also really strict about, making sure we learned like the material and everything. She uh, was really good at letting us express ourselves in ways we weren't allowed to in other places, like, in a very um, a school with a lot of rules. So I grew a lot in her class, and that's, I think, where I realized I should pursue art seriously, even though I knew I always wanted to be an artist.
Yeah, but sometimes that special teacher can give you that kick to pursue your passions. So,
Hmm.
okay. What is your theme song?
Oh my gosh. Let's see.
If you have one.
Oh gosh, I think I have a lot. I think it depends on what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Um,
it can change day to day, basically.
uh, yeah, in I guess in the studio a lot. I've been listening to like Riot Girl. That
Oh,
gets me picked up. Um,
good choice.
good old Rebel Girl. I mean, that's, that's a good long term theme song. But I'm sure I have many.
Yeah, it can change. If you were a vegetable, what vegetable would you be?
mm, I guess kale, because I'm curly and crunchy.
Hmm, interesting. I tell you a
Crunchy
secret.
maybe.
tell you a secret. I've never eaten kale in my life.
Oh, it's delicious and it's very versatile, very
Yeah,
adaptable to different dishes.
I heard both sides that it's delicious, also that it's awful, but I don't know. Maybe I had. I'm not sure in Hungary where you could buy it in a, in a small town like
Oh,
Zalaegerszeg. So maybe I had similar things, but I don't think I ever had kale. I just know it from American sources. Okay, one last question because it's fun. When was the last time you changed your opinion about something major?
hmm.
I, I didn't realize that it's not just fun questions, but yeah, that could be
Ooh,
interesting.
I guess recently I've had a lot of realizations about taking care of myself
Mm.
health wise. So I think I always was kind of against seeing the importance of that, or thinking it was too selfish. But recently I've learned that health should be a priority for everyone, and that's hard in America when we have to pay for it.
Oh
So
yeah, oh yeah. It's hard for Hungary when the healthcare system is in really bad shape.
yeah, yeah,
So
it's doesn't seem like it's there for us, so we have to be there for ourselves.
yeah, yeah, and it's I guess it's important not just health but mental health wise.
Absolutely.
Uh, as this is a virtual exhibition opening, um, I thought that maybe we can go and look at some of your artworks. Unfortunately, we just have the photos because it's online and also because there's a uh, huge distance between us. So I would really love to see your works in person as well, or to do something here. Maybe in the future because the photos are really really nice and I really like them.
Thank you.
Like,
I was thinking about that too, like with documenting the work. If you're only going to see it in a picture. Um,
so walk through the picture. So what are we seeing? Because it's not first time. It's not really that simple. So what am I seeing here?
this was actually one of the experimental group collaborative mold digs that I did as part of the event that was at the end of the residency. Um, I've been calling this piece "We Dug It" because a lot of people actually put their hands in the sand and like dug it out. You can see like hand marks and fingerprints. Um, so this was actually one of the first ideas I had 2 years ago when I proposed this residency project, to like use the foundry to gather the experience, or to record, I guess, the experience of a lot of people gathering in one place around this mold. So I actually did several. This was the only one I finished, but I just ended up with these like really weird forms, not weird in a bad way, but just forms that wasn't really sure what they would look like. I couldn't plan for it, and then in the end, just sort of figuring out how I wanted to put these together. I think of them kind of as monuments in a way. So I was working with some welded steel scraps there, just kind of welding together, just kind of intuitively to act as this sort of like empty flint in a way. Um, yeah, and then since this is the first one in the series, you'll see in all of them, I have been working with, especially for this project, video and projection, and it kind of ended up a little bit, again, unplanned. I was uh, all the ideas I had a residency, I realized were projects I would normally do for an in-person residency, but without that actual space. Realizing like I actually do have a big problem of not having enough space for working and like putting together a whole show. So I was kind of working with this virtual experience, and so I was working with like these video and projections as a way of like creating this sort of
Mm.
like false gallery for virtually in experiencing, I guess. So
So basically, this setup the was a direct result of of doing a virtual residency, because that's where the idea came from, to make a projection as well.
Yeah,
Am I understanding it right?
yeah. Well, it wasn't something I planned on doing originally. I was sort of working on these like videos and the idea of projections separately, like
Hmm.
actually over the like for the last like year. But I wasn't expecting it to necessarily come together for this project until kind of towards the end. It was actually kind of after the actual residency and after the blog, and like I kind of started putting everything together and realizing like the white background wasn't really working for me. I didn't really feel like it felt like a show, you know. So yeah, um, I kind of just like accidentally, not even accidentally, just kind of like didn't think I'd like it, but then when I tried it and I really liked it, and so I really went with it.
Yeah. Um, I think I just realized that there might be people who are just tuning in to this exhibition and didn't really follow the whole residency. So can you tell us a bit about how this actually worked for you? So what was the process of this residency program and creating this?
Yeah, sure. So my background is in foundry casting, and I did want to do a new body of work on based in aluminum casting. I've been working with a lot of recycled aluminum. Almost everything in the show is actually everything in the show is cast from recycled aluminum. Um, yeah. So being virtual, I pretty much just used the blog to frame the making, like the development and the making of this work. And the blog is on the site with the show as well. Um,
We'll
so
put the link in the description
okay,
somewhere.
sounds good. So yeah, so the residency for me was kind of working with this idea. I wanted to like pull together a lot of ideas I was working with in casting and foundry. So I was kind of using the foundry at campus where I teach, and the studios there and the space there. And then using the blog to kind of frame like the ideas I was working through and all the little pieces as they were coming together.
And if someone is really interested in the whole process, then they can read the blog that you made. I think I remember there was also some work in progress photos as well that documented the whole journey through.
Yeah, yeah. Some of these works, like yeah, in metal, parts
Hmm.
in wax. Hmm.
Yeah, I really love. We also had a meet the artist conversation where we get to know a little bit more of your personal life. So I don't want to really delve into that. People can watch the video. I think it's still on the YouTube. And so let's go over to maybe the next picture, because I really love the colors of one.
Thank
Uh,
you.
so this is also a projection, but I can see there are some really nice textures. The top part, really
Mhm.
hard to uh, say. Can you tell us a bit about how? So what was the technique you used by creating this? Really, it looks really interesting.
Thank you. This is actually a great piece to describe the process. So I do use the lost wax casting technique. It's an ancient
Hmm.
technique,
Hmm.
um, but I use an updated version. I do use a lot of wax. I sculpt with a lot of wax, but I also use a lot of like organic material, garbage, like single-use plastics, basically anything that would melt. um, in this piece, I was kind of just putting together. I kind of similarly to the way I built the videos, I kind of work from just a lot of little pieces of found things. And I either cast them in wax or join them together with wax. So this is, I usually try to not define each particular form that I make because it's more intuitive the way that it's like built. Um, but there's always like, when you're up close, you can see like recognizable parts to the story. There is an orange that I cast as a candle and then burnt it and then like cast it in its state of burning and melting. There's also a kazoo and a finger. And then just a lot of like the using the plastic, which at one point we were talking about in the last video, where I actually use like single-use plastic packaging
Mm-hmm.
and pour the wax in to collect the forms of the empty space around uh, products. I was actually like using those wax forms a lot, pulling them apart, putting them back together. And so the cast aluminum portion of this is that. um, and then I attached it to a really gorgeous piece of lava rock that I found in Utah. There's these like tons of lava fields in a certain area my partner and I like to go to, and houses are built with them out of like instead of bricks, it's like made with lava rocks,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And I've always been really fascinated with like volcanoes and geologic time and like how that kind of plays into the story of transformation and deep time. So I kind of see this piece as like this, I don't know, this like artifact or like the
Mm-hmm.
story or this moment of life kind of sneaking out from in
Yeah,
between. Like,
yeah. That's what I was associated with, like something growing out of rock. Which I wanted to ask if you found it this way, or you made anything with the rock itself. Just this was this piece that you found, and just basically attached the cast part to it.
yeah, I didn't do anything to it except drill a hole in it.
Sometimes it's
Yeah. I was like, I was very drawn to that one rock, and I didn't even know how it would work with. It just came together.
also there's something to say about even like using found objects in art pieces, but especially like found rocks. It always reminds me of childhood when basically your first or could be your first experience with basically using this is just finding an interesting piece of rock when you're a child, and that's interesting. That could be your first art experience. Find shiny or interesting things and collect them and arrange them. I guess that's an instinct of
I still do that.
for humans and crows.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a beautiful photo. And is there uh, so what is the reason behind that? Some of the projections are like more abstract, just colors, and some of the projections, for example, here I can see some flower shapes and parrots in the back. So, or what was just by feel, or does it
Yeah.
have to do with the I don't know what with the piece itself?
This one, so honestly, I didn't really mean for this one to be
Oh,
so scrutable like in the video. But I kind of just liked it. I kind of like these like just random little thoughts kind of like flying by or floating by. I
mm-hmm,
was
mm-hmm,
um, really wrapped in this idea of a dreamscape. And so at one point with the videos, I was just like, whatever, anything goes. Um, Kind of like parts of life, parts of like the environment, um, even pieces of garbage. It's kind of hard to tell. I didn't really want them to be like totally readable, although they do have some details that are.
mm-hmm.
Um, doesn't necessarily relate like directly to the piece in the photograph with it, but I would say like as an entire series, there are definitely a lot of places in the videos where there are recognizable elements, just like in the sculptures.
I was just asking because for me it seems like there are shapes that are rhyme in the background. Like I can see like the beaks of the parrots and that shape at the end of the curved line, or the flower petals and those little. So maybe it's just me,
I will say
or maybe we are pattern seekers basically as humans. So we will find patterns in everything.
definitely. And I was definitely going for like this like garden explosion
Mhm.
dreamscape. So That's the
Uh,
same piece with
that's the,
different video.
it's interesting how basically these projections or these projected pictures can change the feel and the look of the pieces because uh, metal by itself is very reflective. Like it reflects back the colors. I think it's a very interesting way to use that with the projection.
Thank you. Yeah, that's why I feel like my metal my thoughts on metal also kind of changed as I was working on this, and I was just really drawn to like this high polish, like super finish. Even though a lot of my work is like kind of inherently like messy and overly textured, I was really drawn to this like high polish, like it almost looks like liquid and in like this mirror kind of effect. And I think yeah, like that works just so well with like the different colors from the video. I like that it obscures the video against the sculpture and you just kind of see the color or the movement.
And with this picture, what I really love is the middle part that is more silvery. Looks almost organic or like feathers themselves. So it looks like it's not metal, basically, in the middle for me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of found I use a lot of like found natural material too. So a lot of that is just like a direct casting of things I find in nature, usually modified in some way, but
Yeah. Also, just trying to make connections here. The title of the exhibition is Late Bloomers. So there's some kind of idea of transformation or growth or uh, being becoming something else, and that can also be reflected in these. I, for me, it's the same thought. Like the metal can become some stuff by just with the projections or the growth of these objects from discarded objects or not garbage but discarded pieces to form a new whole thing and with the projection again a whole new skin. I'm
yeah.
sure it was intentional, but
I didn't think about the metal there though. But I like that.
is this just a piece of a larger uh, work or it's just the way you present it because I'm not sure if what I see is just a smaller part of it or it's just presented on this I don't
it,
know.
it's like two pieces.
Mm.
I was kind of experimenting with like, you know, putting multiple works together.
Mhm.
I kind of ended up liking more of like just a single work in each photo. Um, but this in this one, the one in the front, the one that's hanging, that also has a little piece of lava rock from the
Mhm.
same location as the other one. And this is one of two bell forms that I was working on. Like I was kind of working with this idea of like a bell that wouldn't ring or a bell that wouldn't work.
Right.
It's made out of like, garbage and just discarded items. So yeah, this one's made out of a water bottle and some other pieces of garbage.
It's basically a bell that lost its voice.
Yeah, or maybe it's looking for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Or maybe
Or
it refuses to work, and that's cool too.
yeah. No, I won't do that. Interesting. Would it actually work as a bell if there wasn't
It does. It does. It doesn't sound that good, but that one actually works as a bell. And actually, like part of that was kind of coming from yeah. Here's another shot
mm-hmm.
of that. I was just kind of experimenting with different videos, um, but yeah, like one major thing that bronze casting has been used for is making bells.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked the idea of doing it out of aluminum, which is like a cheaper, less precious material, which I kind of relate to as like more of like the queer story. But yeah, and then again, like it's like kind of it can make a sound, but it's complicated. It doesn't sound like you would want a bell to sound like, but kind of a nod to that history in foundry craft.
That during my studies, that's what I remember. They told us that's what bronze was used for: bells and cannons.
Mm-hmm.
Two things.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
Weaponry. And
So during
fern.
wartime, bells would become cannons
Yeah.
and also lose their voice that way. A bit
Make
more
a difference.
tragic way.
Yeah. So this was another bell I did
Hmm. It
from a glass.
almost looks like glass.
It is glass.
It is glass. Okay.
So that's actually a glass piece I cast many years ago, and
Hmm.
I've always been looking to do something with it. And it worked for this, so I'm glad I could finally use it. But it was this form that I made in a mold, and then the glass studio I was working with at the time did a blow mold, so they actually like blow the glass through the pipe, but into the mold, so it picks up the
Huh.
shape.
Very interesting.
So it was very cool to see. But yeah, this was another bell form, and again, like this one, I think like if you tried to work it, it would probably break. I was really scared I was going to break it while I was making this. Um,
That's
but
also a very, very interesting metaphor. Like the thing that is basically made for that work would break it. Like
mhm,
the task that you're supposed to do would break you. That's an interesting dichotomy.
mhm, yeah, yeah, I
Or,
was,
or, or, or the task that is expected from you would break you.
mhm,
But
yeah,
I really love the shape, and also again these projections make it really really interesting. Like
thank you.
the colors and the shape are really.
That one I was working with, like there was something kind of jellyfishy happening with this
Hmm.
glass. So I was working with this like underwater kind of theme, but there's also kind
Interesting.
of like in the background there are like blueprints to a bathroom, and like some garbage kind of underwater with like the floating water.
Yeah, and I love how these pictures and videos are so colorful because uh, I would expect from aluminium or bronze statues to be one way, how we used to look at like maybe a white or black background. The color is the color of the metal, but here we see an explosion of colors with every piece. I really like it.
Thank you. I was really enjoying, seeing how each piece could change so much and be so
Hmm.
dynamic with like the different backgrounds.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a different view of that one. I
Yeah.
thought like what was happening with the projection in the glass was just so fascinating, with like the light kind of cloud in the shadow.
Do you plan to do an exhibition with these works, maybe
I would
somewhere?
love to. Yeah, I mean, I think I have a little bit more work to do as far as like what would be entailed like with the technology with like doing this in an actual space. But yes, I would definitely love to.
Because I was thinking about how could you arrange, because I would love the idea of just these bells or bell like shapes hanging in the space, in the actual space where you can walk around and they can work together so well.
Hmm.
Or just maybe from the ceiling just hang them into the space,
Hmm.
because I think it's a wooden something that's on it. Not sure
I was
what
using
it.
like scrap metal.
Scrap
It's
metal,
metal.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was just like imagining this whole thing as like an aquarium type of thing that you or a
Oh,
garden dreams that you can like enter in and like yeah,
yeah.
see see how the metal like the metal would stay the same but be like the color and the movement would be
Yeah, and,
crazy.
and a moving projection, like in a white space with these, and the metal would reflect the lights and the colors. That would be really dreamscapey, as you said.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So definitely goals.
Hmm. Here we can see some nice details. Is it the same piece or?
Yeah, that is the same piece with a different video in the background. So the colors look a little different. But yeah, that's a really good example of like up close, like what some of the garbage in the single-use plastics, like a lot of what I built that piece is from there. I also use a lot of like flowers at various stages of blossoming or being dried and dead. I almost always have flowers hanging in my studio. Um, I have a florist I've made friends with, so they give me like really ripe stuff that's like just past the peak of selling. um, but yeah, and then this piece also, I'm not sure if you can tell in that photo, but there are also a lot of finger castings from a lot of like my students and friends. So kind of like bringing the human experience in like this really kind of weird way into, or like the idea of like touch or
Mhm.
community, kind of exploding out of these forms that are actually made of garbage and dead things that
Yeah.
look like blooming or something.
It's also interesting. Like there's this thing that the hot metal feels like, oh, you shouldn't touch that, and I know it's not, doesn't work that way, that you just put your hand into hot metal, but the finger cast always, like the first reaction is, oh my god.
Yeah. It's safe.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you might be able to see some figures in there. And I kind of mixed up some, I had some pickles. So I kind of like how
Pickles.
those kind of confused like the fingers. I don't
Hmm
know. I
hmm.
just kind of thought that was really
Oh,
interesting and
I think I can see
weird.
the pickles. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the little
I don't know if
ones.
you know, but pickles are a big thing in Hungary. We love our pickled stuff. We pickle
I love
everything. We
Now I
pickle.
really wish I was there.
We even pickle plums. So whatever, what everything that we can do.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I've heard you do a lot of paprika in your food as well.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that
yeah. It's almost like
yeah?
a lot of paprika, a lot of meat, but there's also meatless options. But you know, it's the traditional hearty cuisine. I would say that it's basically, but a lot of paprika, yes. And there's always some pickles uh, as a side dish with every lunch.
Yeah, good stuff.
And
Um,
it's a bit
so
more flowery piece, or a bit
this one,
more.
this piece I actually had already, I admit I had already finished this going into the residency, but this piece was called Late Bloomer.
Ah.
And it's kind of what inspired like the forms for everything I started putting
Mhm.
together. And so it just made sense to me to put this in here as well. I wanted to see it in with the video and the context of the dreamscape and everything.
So this is basically the basis of all the
Yeah,
other stuff.
this was the first one, yeah.
It's the same one that we have seen before, only from a different perspective, maybe.
Some different
Yeah,
color.
yeah. I really love these really intricate shapes that you create with objects. Like one could almost meditate. It could be almost meditative just to find those little shapes inside every piece. Because there's always something that, oh, I might recognize it, or but I'm not sure what it is.
I'm glad to hear that because that kind of relates to like a dream as well. It's like when in a
Mhm.
dream, there's things you can kind of recognize, but they're out of context, confusing. I like to work with my sculptures like that. Yeah, so these are some more components I was just sort of playing around with. I have also been doing a lot of fruits. Well, I've actually always been doing a lot of fruit. Like, the first metal things I cast were these really uh, wildly surreal hybridized fruits and or looking like fruits.
Mhm.
So recently, I've sort of been going back to that, and I have been casting fruits into candles, but then like casting them so the wicks go all the way through so that they burn in from two sides. So
Mhm.
there's a couple of those in here.
So it's basically the same wax that you use for the molds, or it's a different for candles. Oh no.
Actually, well, I think if you actually make like real candles to sell, you would probably have a nicer mold for a candle. But really, I just use anything.
Hmm.
All my wax molds are pretty much the same. So I've used those same molds for like casting those things for eventual metal casting as well.
And it's also again it's really interesting to me to basically candle is very ephemeral, like it will burn away after a while, and to pair it with something really solid and something that is there to stay, like a metal object. It's really interesting. Pair those two together.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I think that's why I'm really drawn to like candles, especially in various stages of melting, flowers, fruit, and perishable things. Like those to me are markers of time and change
Hmm.
in this piece that's in metal that's going to last thousands of years. So I kind of feel like it's important to embrace
Hmm.
both sides of that time scale.
We are back to the first one. I think I have some videos too here.
So it's kind of a little edit of
Hmm.
various. Yeah, I think it's really fun to see the colors and
Hmm.
the image moving.
Yeah, I really wanted to show this video because the changing of colors with the projection is even better in the video. The pictures are really nice, but the video really brings it. Was the water sound behind it for that aquarium feel, or is that?
Um, Actually, I didn't even think of it as an aquarium, but I guess I collected so many different like soundscapes in my phone, like with the just recording on my phone, um, and quite honestly, I just thought it kind of added to this.
Mhm.
I don't know, like I guess I don't really have like an exact place or thing in mind, but just to add another layer of that dreamscape through the sound. So it was like the wind, and I think that video, that one was the phone was actually next to a waterfall at the end of
Mhm.
spring, so it was like the snow melt waterfall in the mountains, and there was like some wind. So again, like this idea of like change, going from solid to liquid. Um, I thought just kind of worked really well with the imagery in the show, especially like candles, like going from solid to liquid, metal going from liquid to solid. Um, those kind of themes of materiality
Mhm.
that I work with. The skull was kind of a last minute thing. It does have the wick that goes all the way through, and so it was actually starting to burn from the mouth, and then the face was like melting.
Mhm.
I think it kind of ended up a little bit too different from everything else in the show, but I thought it was kind of interesting to throw into the video.
Yeah, there's some. That's really interesting because it's fire and the sound of water together. Also, really so it was your recording of the water that we hear.
Yeah, that I added onto like the
Hmm.
video montage. Yeah, it wasn't really like since this is just a virtual, I didn't really have the chance to sorry, noise outside.
No problem.
Sorry, I didn't really have the chance to play with like sound in real time. So I thought like for like the video montage, to kind of start with that.
I think we have one more video here. So I guess the sound of the wind is again uh, your your recording. The actual
Correct. Yeah.
wind in the desert somewhere.
It is in the high desert of Oregon, and actually there are quail calls in the background, and a group of quail is called a queer.
Hmm.
So I thought it worked really well for that. That's actually the Washington Monument, which is like it's in Washington D.C. here. It's at the end of a big reflecting pool. So it's like a really recognizable monument in the U.S. So of course, thinking about like monuments and memory, power, I kind of wanted to show it in a different kind of light. And I started making that video thinking I would use it in the same way I use the other ones, but it kind of just took on its own kind of life. I'd like to do more of these. But yeah, I thought the wind and the bird song kind of catered to this like um, moment in time, or like this place of change
Mm.
or growth.
So it's basically an animation, if I'm right. Is,
Yeah, so
is
basically,
this is this something that you already done before, or is this something new that you tried out?
this is totally new. That's why it's so bad. I'm not an animator. I'm not a video artist at all. I kind of liked that it was really bad. Like I just basically made these by like just tons of layering
I don't think
and
it's. I wouldn't call it bad. It because it looks intentional.
not on
Like it's
purpose.
simple, but it looks intentionally simple. I like the feel of it. I like the little insects. The, so that movement of the wings, really interesting. Okay. Um.
Yeah, I thought it looked like it was breathing.
So thank you for walking us through your works. Uh, what did you find out anything during this residency about your work or yourself, or what can you say? What was the conclusion that you realized, or if there was any?
There definitely was. It's kind of hard to sum up, but yeah, I feel like first of all, I was very happy to finally do this. Like I feel like a lot of these ideas were things I've been kind of working with and skirting around for like 2 years, like since before the pandemic. Um, uh, so yeah, it was good to kind of put these together. Yeah, in that series, in that body of work. Um, I definitely learned a lot about how I want to, or how I envision like finished metal looking, because I feel like metal still has like a particular way of looking all the time, and a lot of artists do really great things, to change its appearance or like the heaviness of it or whatever. But one thing I really learned from this show is that I just love the look of the liquid metal, and I think like this like high polish and this like super shine is even though it's a lot more work. I think I'm kicking myself for saying that, but I don't know if I could go back. um, um, and then also, I mean, the event that we had with the community, it involved like my students, artists in the community, and then just like a big, broad community of people that came and put their hands in our molds. It was, I feel like that really represents like a new direction in foundry craft. And at least in America, foundry craft is kind of, I'll say, in trouble. Like a lot of foundries in schools are kind of getting worked out of the program or the curriculum.
I guess
But
they
I
are
think that's really,
expensive. I guess, and
it's expensive. It has a lot of
cumbersome.
overhead,
Yeah, yeah.
but also so does ceramics.
Okay.
So I feel like that alone isn't really like
Yeah.
enough of what I use.
Yeah.
But
Maybe it's at the moment it's a bit more niche. Maybe a lot of people think about, oh, I could do that, but um, for sure, if I had the opportunity, I would have tried it out in a minute because it's also very exciting
hmm
and
yeah,
interesting.
and that was a huge part of the event too. Because it is very exclusive. It takes a long time to make anything that looks good. Just like any craft. I mean, that's why it's a craft,
Of
because
course.
there is like a really big like learning craft, or learning curve. But there could be so many accessible ways to get people involved if the people with foundries were willing to do that. So I don't know. I hope to continue that. And I definitely look forward to doing more of that. Like, with the foundry I work with. So that was a really important part of this project.
Uh, if any young artist would like to, try him or herself or themselves out in a residency program, would you have any advice how to prepare or what to do or how to look for what kind of residency experience to look for based on this?
Are you talking about virtual or in person
Maybe
or
virtual or in person. I'm not sure. So this virtual residency is still in an infancy, I would think. Like it's still an experiment. But yes, let's say like for a virtual residency, if someone is talking about doing it or taking part in one, do you have any advice how to do that or prepare or what helped you to go through with the residency? Because I think the hardest part could be to make yourself. So you have to be your own, I don't know, like not boss, but but maybe it's like
yeah.
working from home. You have to be there, and it's sometimes hard when you're not in that environment, but in your home. So, was there any technique or something that you do that helped you with that?
I've done a few in-person residencies here in the US, and I've always found that having a project to frame the time is really helpful, and then pack the materials that you think are important to that project. Um, but I also think it's totally okay to have like a residency where you just want to experiment and find out stuff about you. Sometimes you really just need like space
Yes.
um, without the pressure of making or performing, you know? And I think a lot of people in their lives could really benefit from that, just that space, you know, or that moment of focus. Um, with the virtual residency, I learned some things for this. Like I had so many ideas. There was like this. I think maybe you remember we were talking about. I had this whole separate like series I was going to do with beeswax, and it definitely got started. But in reality, I just didn't have the space for it. Like
Hmm.
I kind of had to clean up like one mess at a time. So I just didn't really get to that. But then I ended up, you know, kind of thankfully working with like the video and all that instead. So I feel like that was how I worked through the space issue with the virtual residency. I also think that like for this one, the exhibition at the end really helped me like have like an exact idea of, you know, the works I was doing and, you know, a reason for finishing
Hmm.
everything and presenting it. And I think I was at the point with this work that I really wanted that anyway. So I, I think like not every residency has an exhibition at the end, but I really liked that with this one.
But, but
Um,
but maybe we can say that it helps to have an end goal anyway, even if it's not an exhibition. But especially if you are doing it from home in a virtual residency, you have even if you experiment or don't do the project that you initially thought you will do, make sure that you have an end goal in mind.
mhm, mhm.
Um, Thank you for your time and to take part in this residency. What are your plans for the future? Do you have anything planned?
Um, well, I did while I was finishing up Late Bloomer, come up with a whole new idea for the next line of work slash maybe exhibition. So I'll just slowly start working on those pieces. I have had some like health issues lately, so physically I'm a little bit behind. So I'm just taking the time I need. The work I do is very physical, like the metal work part is. So I've just been taking the time to kind of think more about what I'm going to be doing when I get back, and uh, yeah, working on more of this for
Yes.
sure. Definitely more recycled aluminum. Definitely more
Mm.
flowers and colors.
Yes, I think we can wish you that more of that we would like. And then also um, I would encourage everyone to follow Emily. Do you have any, I don't know, socials that you wanna
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
okay, so maybe we can do also put them in the description later.
well, my website's emilybud.com, and my Instagram's ladybud. That's pretty much, those are pretty much the only things I'm active on.
So,
Actively update, I should say.
so if you like this exhibition and the works, follow Emily and tell her that you really liked her works, and also you can follow the Cleaning Studios, the website as well as the Instagram account. Everything will be in the little description. And thank you for watching us, hearing us, a little conversation, and thank you for coming to this virtual exhibition. And
Yeah, thank you so much for everything from you and Katya. It's been a very amazing experience, and it's been long, and I feel lucky because I've just gotten to work with you longer. So
yes,
I
same. Let's hope that we will sometimes maybe we can meet in person and even and continue.
would like that for sure. I would love to visit if it ever works out.
Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.